happened?
There we go.
What'd you do?
I muted us before we started because in our
Okay.
last live, you could
Yep.
hear
Yep.
us
Yep.
talking
Yep.
in the
Yep.
background. Can you guys
So
hear us okay now?
should be able to hear us now.
Let us know.
I hope so.
I'm just waiting for a couple comments to come
Yeah.
in. Are we all good?
I'm thinking we are. You saw the audio. There it is.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Fred.
Well, hey Fred. Thanks a lot. Let's just start over a little bit. So,
Right?
hey, welcome to RVing to Alaska. We're coming to you live from our home studio right now. This
Yeah.
is the first time in this season that we've had a chance to be
Ah,
home for a live, so
Ye-
it's pretty nice.
yes, it feels so good to be
I like
home.
it.
When we were down in Washington for a couple of months, and then 2 weeks ago we were in Juneau, our
Yep,
state capital, and so yes, it feels good to be back in the
it
studio.
does. It does.
Um, just trying to get everything back in place and our studio reset up.
A little rusty at it.
Oh, very rusty. But if you guys, I know you can hear us. Are the sound levels good? And just let us know if we sound okay. If Gary needs to do any adjustments over on the
And
soundboard.
I'll be looking at the soundboard once in a while over this way, so that's kind of why I'm like, whoop, over here, kind of just seeing what's happening once in a while. Because Stacy likes to start off talk. Well, I do too. Start off talking nice and quiet and low and having a good time. But then by the time she gets into it, she's like raises her voice up quite a bit, and I have to adjust things a little while. It's common once you get into it. You get a comfortable roll going on. Your voice just raises.
Well,
So
I
you
I
have to
get
be aware of that.
excited.
Yes, you do.
All right. Well, I am so happy to be here with you all tonight. We've got a big topic tonight, and is RVing to Alaska is the hassle. Are you going to come across hassles as you cross international borders? And as long as you can't hear Gary as well as Stacy, you have to
Yeah,
eat that mic.
that's a known problem. We may change out my mic because yeah,
His mic is more, he's got to talk right into it versus mine is more dynamic and
yeah, I'd like to get a new mic just because I can feel a little bit more equal on level and don't have to swallow the thing.
all right. So anyways, back to crossing international borders. Let me tell you, Gary and I,
Oh yeah, we had a good time.
we crossed some international borders here in the last month or last 3 months. We went down, as I said, down to Washington. Linda says that's much better.
Oh good, I did make a couple adjustments and hopefully that works.
Yep.
And
So
I turned on a monitor too, so we can actually feel in the room.
we headed south as well. Well, how am I saying? We headed south around the same time that most people would exit the state.
Right.
So that was very common questioning as we entered Canada and as we re-entered the United States. And then when we came back home in October, of course, there's not very much northbound traffic. And
Very
those
little.
crossings
Yeah.
again were very easy.
Mhm.
I would like to say, as long as you're prepared and you have done your homework and research ahead of time, your border crossings are not something you really need to worry about as much as most people do.
Right.
So, real quick, I'm skipping ahead. I think the audio problem just kind of messed us up. If you are new here and are catching our live for the first time, we are Gary and Stacy. We run a Facebook group called RVing to Alaska, the
Yes.
original. And on this group, travelers learn in the wintertime with us all the tips and tricks of RVing to Alaska. And every month in the winter, we do two podcasts
Right.
where we break down these tips and tricks into more detailed topics for you to learn from. Now, just a quick reminder, I just said we come live to you twice a month. Next month, the month of December, there will be no live chats because we are
Right.
going to be out of the country.
We'll be in the middle
and
of a bunch of water somewhere.
somewhere across the Atlantic. We're doing a transatlantic cruise, so we cannot come to you while we're on that trip. So you will have one more live with us here in December coming, or in November coming up in
Yep.
two weeks, and
Well, that gives you a chance to celebrate the holidays with all your family and friends that you need to, and not have to worry about planning an Alaska trip when it's Christmas time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if you want to catch up with any of our last live chats, we do have them all available on our YouTube channel. Just go up to live stream or look at the playlist podcast, and you'll be able to find all of our older podcast chats with you.
There's been quite a few of them over the last years. If you start back up here in this in the introduction, you had mentioned that we've been doing this for not podcasts, but you've been managing the channel for 9 years.
Educating on the topic. This is our 9th season. The 2025 travel season will be our 9th year doing this.
It's a lot of years.
It is, and helping a lot of amazing people, and it's just been awesome. But tonight's topic is crossing international borders, and we just kind of want to put your mind at ease that it's not as crazy and scary as a lot of people think.
Man, we just breezed through it, seems like. I mean, it was surprising to me. The biggest surprise, all the talk about the new pet requirements and such.
Yep. We're going to talk about that.
Breezed right through.
So here's tonight's topics, just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. First of all, we're going to talk about what kind of identification and documents that you need to enter Canada. Second major topic is the new pet requirements. The U.S. changed some requirements specifically for dogs in the fall, and so we're going to go over that. There's actually been more changes. Yes, changes, but nothing's changed since that new adaptation. So I'm going to go over that. And then we're going to talk about restricted items such as food, tobacco, liquor, and things that are prohibited, such as marijuana, cannabis, and some cultural items.
Right.
And then we're going to tackle the topic of transporting through Canada a firearm, or make it simpler and just ship it straight up to Alaska. So that's what we have to talk about. Oh, I did it the wrong direction.
Yeah, you did.
Stand by real quick.
So our camera that we're using, for some reason, when the LCD screen goes to sleep, the level drops a little bit. It's just really strange. And right about a little bit more, right there.
We want to go a little more than normal.
It's already dropped. The screen's off, so it'll be fine.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So yeah, it's weird. The LCD screen, when it goes off, the camera drops a little bit. We don't know why, and it's just really annoying. And Stacy tried to pre-plan that one, but she did it the wrong way. So we know now for next time.
Oh, Lord.
Again, learning experience. We're a little rusty. We're still trying to work that rust off and shine us up a little bit.
So we have a lot to lot to talk about. So let's dig into the first topic.
Sounds good.
And that's going to be entering Canada. What kind of documentation do you need? And this is the easiest form of documentation that you can bring is your passport. Make sure that everything is in good standing order and that it's not going to expire during your trip or within 6 months of your travel.
Isn't that kind of a standard procedure, is make sure your passport doesn't expire within 6 months of crossing a border?
It's something you may think about going up, but if you're coming up for 3 months, that means you need to look at your expiration date and basically make sure it's still valid through the entire year of 2025, and that if it is expiring, it should be in 2026, just to make sure that you're all good, because they may deny you entry using the passport if it's going to expire within 6 months. Alternative forms of paperwork, if you don't have a passport, that you can use to prove that your American citizenship would be a birth certificate along with a government issued photo ID, also certificate of naturalization, or an Indian status certificate. All of those, you need additional government issued ID. If you do use that without a passport, just know you probably will experience stricter US entry requirements.
They just kind of want to make sure you are you.
Exactly.
And the passport is one of the best ways to do it. And they want to verify any other documentation that that you presented to them.
Canada does still have the RVing app. It was something they developed during the pandemic, and people use it more towards flying, I think, than driving in. But if you want to do that, it can help expedite.
Expedite.
Thank you.
Baby.
Third time's
Come
a
on.
charm.
Yep.
It can help your crossing possibly maybe by a minute or two. I think it's just easiest have the passport out and ready to give to them when you reach the gate. One thing, so common questions regarding citizenship, they're going to ask where you're from. They're going to ask where you're going. And basically, how long are you going to be in Canada? So,
and sometimes do you anticipate buying anything in Canada?
yes. Did we get that going?
We got that going into Canada. Yeah. It was, what do you plan on buying in Canada?
And we
And
basically
it's
just
the
said
necessities to
fuel,
get us through to
gas.
food and fuel.
Kind of know how long you think you might transit. It's just showing that you have a plan.
You made a plan, yes.
They don't basically, how do you say it? They're trying to make sure that you're not like gonna set up a new domicile in Canada. You want to show that you know that you're transiting through to Alaska, and it may take you 2 to 3 weeks.
Right. And that's actually one of the best answers. We're transiting through Canada. We'll probably spend 2 to 3 weeks in Canada buying food and fuel as we go.
That's true. They did ask if we had any tourist attractions planned, and we said the hot springs.
The hot springs, yes, it was important.
So just random questions like that. And, they're just doing their job and they're vetting you. So keep that in mind. Now, entering the United States, you pretty much for documents need the same thing.
Yep.
Except I will say one thing. I know the government all the states are going towards a real ID. Know that is a program through the TSA. It is not a valid form of identification to travel in a vehicle across the Canadian border or even walking across a border. That would be the enhanced driver's license. And there are only a handful of states. I think there's 8 or 9.
And most of them are all border states.
Most of them are border states.
That have busy ports of entries.
So an enhanced ID can get you both into Canada easily and back into the US. For Canadians, you should know this, but I know we're growing with Canadians in our membership.
Yep.
Again, passport's not required, but strongly recommended by the Canadian Border Service Agency. Alternative proof of citizenship and a photo identification card are allowed. Those alternative forms are enhanced driver's license, a Nexus card, free and secure trade, which is called a FAST card, a Canadian citizenship card, or certificate of Indian status, as well as a birth certificate.
Yep.
So kind of similar things.
Very similar.
Just know this can significantly delay your entry, and it could trigger secondary screening.
Because again, they want to take the time, or they will take the time to verify that alternate identification. They want to make sure you are you.
Re-entering the U.S. again, a passport or a passport card, the Nexus, Century, or FAST. Those are trusted traveler cards. A global entry card, enhanced, as we just spoke about, driver's license, or military ID or merchant marine document. For the military ID, however, they do say you must be traveling on official
on orders.
or same with the Marine, merchant Marine. Family members over 15 years old must present a passport or these forms of ID. Children, you will want to have birth certificates if they don't have a passport, and know that what am I trying to say? If they are not your birth children,
As in like grandchildren or friends of the family or something like that.
you're going to need a notarized letter from the parents authorizing for you having care of that child. If you are a single parent and the other parent who is not a part of your family anymore, like a divorced couple, you also would need a notarized letter from the absent parent to take your child, unless court documents state otherwise. And I've had people bring their court documents just to make it a little easier. Canada's very serious about child trafficking, and that is just one way they know that you're supposed to have that child.
Yep.
So let's see. I'm going to just see if we have any questions.
Oh, that's a good
If
idea.
you have questions, pop them down below. If they're on topic about what we're talking about at the time, I'll try to answer. If not, we'll go back to it at the end. Let's see. I talked about the real ID. Again, that's TSA. It's not land border. Just going over my notes.
Good.
So yeah, I think proper identification, non-citizens. So if you're not a Canadian or a US citizen, you do need a valid passport. Again, you want to make sure that they're not going to expire. And if you do try to cross with an expired passport, regardless of citizenship, you may be sent for secondary inspection, and your entry will be at the discretion of the border officer.
As is every day. Or any encounter as you're crossing the border. It is the border guard who is has the ultimate say whether you get to go through or not. And every border guard is different. Every border crossing will be different. Every location will be different.
Do you want to talk real quick about when you pull up to the border, what we do?
Well, yeah. So pardon me a second, but I'm going to, it might not be good. But when you get up to the border, take your hat off, take your glasses off, turn down the radio, turn off the air conditioning. If there's sunglasses. Turn off the air conditioning, turn down the radio, have your window open, have your documents ready. Passports to begin with. Hand them just the passports first. And then if there's anything else that, if they have any other questions that require documents, hand them the documents at that time. Don't just flush them with a whole bunch of paperwork. That's just not appropriate.
There's one instance, and we'll get to that later, that you would pass with your passport.
Correct.
But
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Just passports. But you want to also talk about your engine of your vehicle.
So we are in a Class A diesel pusher, and it's a rear engine machine, and it has an air brake system on there as well. There are signs all over that says "Do not set your air brakes." That, when you come up to the podium. So what I normally do is, once I stop, I'll keep my foot on the brake and put it in neutral, and then I'll ask the agent, is it okay, or when can I set my brake? And they'll either plug their ears or close their window, set the brakes, and then we'll continue on. And that's just because when you set the air brakes, it releases a whole bunch of air, makes a lot of noise, and they're just trying to protect their ears and be all good about that. The engine being in the back doesn't really affect us, but if you're in a Class C with the engine in front, or a motorhome with the engine in front, you'll probably be asked to turn the engine off as well.
Or a big diesel truck.
Or a big diesel truck. Yep.
Pulling a fifth wheel.
Exactly. So just be cognizant of that. They don't want to hear all that stuff. Can you imagine they're dealing with 30, 40 vehicles a day, and you're hearing that every 15, 20 minutes. It's gonna hurt the ears. So just respect them. It's nothing to be nervous and scared and frightened about. It's just you're at the discretion of that specific agent, and courteous and mindful goes a long ways. And when asked questions, only answer what's asked. Try not to provide too much additional information that may scrutinize your border crossing. If you're asked about pets, don't tell them you got guns. That just drives a whole different spike into the game.
Even if you have pets on board, don't divulge that until they ask, if they ask.
Right.
And we'll go more into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Some other things to keep in mind when you're crossing by vehicle between the United States and Canada, and this is for both, but obviously you want to make sure that you have a driver's license. That is required. That's another thing you want to possibly check and make sure it's not due to expire during your travel.
Do you have in here somewhere anything about the driving record? What maybe?
Well, we can talk about that in a second.
Okay, good.
Vehicle registration. Make sure your registration is good. Make sure that your tabs are not going to expire while during your trip. So one question that we've gotten on multiple times is, what is the vehicle license plate number of your vehicle behind you that say you're towing?
What page you on? Oh,
you're interrupting.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm trying to follow you.
I didn't put page numbers. I didn't think I needed. So we always put a little sticky with our license plate numbers. If we don't, like the motorhome, we don't travel enough in it to know it. So just so we knew what we knew.
So we know, have quick reference about the license plate number. So the license plate number of the motorhome, and if you're towing a vehicle behind you, or your fifth wheel trailer, or your travel trailer, have all that stuff available in your driver's compartment at a quick glance, as well as maybe your weight, how much your truck weighs, how much your trailer weighs, and your height.
We've never. Whoa, just for
your own reference. But we've never had an issue
at the border.
Border, but just so you know, because now you're traveling into Canada and everything's changed into meters. Oh shoot, what does 13 feet equal in meters? Well, I don't know. So have that number, that conversion available in feet and meters and such.
So I said make sure your vehicle registration's up to date.
Yep.
Proof of insurance as well. And what I always do is I print off my entire, not only my insurance card, but I have my portfolio. I can't remember what they call it in the insurance binder.
Yeah, there you go.
With all of our coverages. And some insurance companies will actually issue a little insurance card for traveling in Canada.
It's like an addendum to your regular policy.
And sometimes people will say it is required by law, but I will tell you that I went because I thought it was required by law. So by gosh, I got to get this thing. And my insurance company would not issue me that yellow card for Canada. They're like, you're covered. Don't worry.
Don't worry about it. You're fine.
And then there's other companies that will issue that card. So what I do to alleviate any questions, I just print off my entire binder. Is that what I said?
Yeah, binder, portfolio, policy, whatever it may be.
And carry the whole thing. So if I ever have an instance that I need it, I can show proof.
And that's not necessarily for crossing the border, because we have never been asked for that documentation while crossing the border.
Never.
That would be for a situation if there is an accident while in Canada.
You've never even been asked for a driver's license or insurance.
Not at all.
We have been asked for our registration.
For registration, yes.
Plate number.
Yeah. Yep.
Another thing that could set off bells, and I think very few of you would have this, but if you're driving someone else's car or RV, say you're borrowing your parents' RV for this trip, you want to make sure you have a notarized letter stating that you have the permission to drive this, and be detailed in your itinerary. Like you're planning to leave beginning of May, driving to Alaska, spending the summer, and coming back in the month of September. That way they fully know you have this vehicle with full permission.
Yeah.
And have the owner of that vehicle provide contact information, address information, email, phone number, etc.
And I'm going to add another one to that. I do the due diligence to ensure that the insurance that you carry covers that RV, or and vice versa. Maybe make sure the RV is insured in your name while you're traveling through Canada. If it's you're borrowing your parents, it may not. A different driver, it may not be covered under their policy. So make sure you're covered with the insurance.
And this is not a legal requirement for a permission letter, but it will definitely
It'll take you a long ways.
It will cover you in case something happens. So we did it, for instance, when we moved to Alaska, our friends flew down and drove our third vehicle. And even with us traveling with them, we still went and had that notarized, and they carried it in the truck with them the whole time, just to show.
And I believe that helped.
Diligence.
I think that helped a lot, because we were all traveling together, and they processed us all together because of that.
So that is basically what we're going to cover on documentation for humans and vehicles crossing the
There's a lot of other documents required.
Now, I want to let you know, if you are feeling overwhelmed, you don't need to. We are always here to help you. And when I say that, sorry, I'm just trying to put this up here. We do have a consultation service or planning sessions. And if you would like us to help you sit down one-on-one, go over your itinerary, give you suggestions, if you need help picking out things to do, tour operators,
what routes to use, where to go, who to see,
please know that we have a planning service available to you, our members. And if you are law enforcement, fire, medic, what else?
EMS,
medical,
military.
If you're that type of, we call it a badge discount. We give you 20% off our services. So if that's something you would like to maybe plan with us, please go to our website, rvingtoalaska.com/consulting, and we will be happy to sit down and help you get the jitters out of your planning.
We had a consultation this morning, and initially when we were talking with her, she was a bit frazzled and not quite sure on the routes and where she wanted to go and what she wanted to do. And after that hour was done, it seemed that she had calmed down quite a bit. She had a really solid plan laid out, and was very happy with the consultation time that we had with her.
Yeah,
one-on-one time is great, is very important, and it was a lot of fun. We had a good time with her.
Absolutely. Okay, so topic number 2 tonight is traveling with your pets. And last year, this was a huge.
Everybody was worried about it. Some people didn't even come up because of this possibility.
Some people left early, and it snowballed into something that never even needed to snowball into.
And it snowballed so much that it didn't really happen.
So here's. Okay, let me tell you what you need to have to travel to Alaska with your pets. And all pets, they're going to need to enter Canada and the United States a current rabies vaccination. So that's one thing you're going to need to do. So that's another piece of document that you need to make sure has not expired. And it will not expire while you're on your trip. Okay. Secondly, Alaska has an additional requirement on top of what the United States and Canada want. And the state of Alaska requires a health certificate. Now, your normal vet should be able to do this for you, but some vets, especially vets that may be in middle America or even southern tier states, they're not used to pets traveling internationally. So they don't even know what a health certificate is, or if they do, they may charge absorbent prices for it.
Right. It shouldn't cost you much more than what, $25 is what we've been.
50 to 75
a little off.
is a good price.
Sure.
I saw some people last year have to pay $300 to $400 to $500 for a health certificate,
Wow.
and their vet took them to the
Oh,
cleaners.
that's crazy.
So if you call your first choice and say, I'm traveling through Canada to Alaska, I need a health certificate. How much do you charge for that? And if they tell you something above $100, I would go shopping at
Mhm,
another vet.
mhm.
Either that or look at a vet in Montana, Idaho, or
Washington.
Washington.
Yep.
Because again, you should not be paying those type of prices for a health certificate. Now, here's the other part of that. Remember, I said it's a requirement of
Mhm.
Alaska. The Border Patrol or customs agents at the Alaska state border are not going to ask for this health certificate.
No, they're federal.
Yep.
The border agents are a federal agency, and the health certificate is required through the state of Alaska. There's not a state representative in that border
There
facility.
could be a trooper just doing
Oh, there could be.
checks.
Yep.
We've heard that happening. But basically, when you take Fido or Fifi into the vet and
Mhm.
they do this health certificate check for you, they're going to fill out the information and then electronically send it to the state of Alaska. At that point, you have done your due diligence, you've done it, and Alaska's notified that you're arriving within 30 days. Okay, again, as I said, the federal authorities at the Alaska Yukon border are not going to ask for that document.
Nope.
So if you're beyond that 30-day mark, this is where I say,
Just go with it.
you can fudge
Yep.
the rules slightly because Alaska already knows you're coming. We know sometimes it can take longer than 30 days to get up here,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you're coming like from Florida or
Mhm.
something. So don't sweat the small stuff. You've done it. You've done your due diligence, and you can show proof that you took them in and you did it.
Now, what's the importance of having the health certificate once you're in Alaska? If your pet has an issue and you have to go to a veterinarian clinic, what happens?
Well, Spirit in 19, when
Mhm.
we were visitors, got very sick when we were down in Seward, and we took her up to an emergency clinic in Anchorage. And one of the very first things they asked for was proof that she had a health certificate issued before she came to
Right.
Alaska. Now, would they have not have treated her? I don't know.
I think they may have quarantined her or something just to make sure whatever sickness she had wasn't
Yeah, I don't know.
transmittable.
But here's another really good reason why is there are a lot of transmittable diseases from animals that reside in the lower 48, but they don't live up here
Mhm.
unless they're transported up. It's like a transmittable disease.
Right.
It can happen with pets. And by you making sure your pet is healthy and doing well, you're protecting our pet population up here.
And I believe our pet population up here, and they're not just pets, but they're working dogs and working animals, is significantly larger than most other states.
Yes, there's probably more working dogs in
Mhm.
this state than there are humans.
Yep.
So we do ask to protect our pets, that you protect your pets. And so a lot of people will say, "Oh, I never get that health certificate. It's not needed. They'll never ask for it," which is true.
And you may be denied service. I mean,
You could
be denied service if you
we
don't
don't
have.
know
Yeah.
if they truly. I would hope not.
I would hope not, or delay
But
service or something.
I'm an advocate of following the rules except the 30-day. But please get that health certificate. It helps protect our population.
And there's nothing wrong with getting a checkup on your dog. You get a checkup once a year, or you should. So why not check up Fido once a year too? I mean, nothing wrong with that.
Living a paw life. Oh, I love your name.
Living a paw life.
Yeah,
PAW.
paw like a dog. Where does the vet go online to fill out these health certificates? They should know. And I've also dropped links in today's video description that goes straight to the state of Alaska and that will tell the vet what forms that are accepted and how to submit it. So basically, you as the user, as the pet parents, you don't have to do anything beyond getting your pet in and getting a health certificate right before you leave.
It's the veterinarian that actually does the computer work and sends it off to Alaska.
Yeah. So once you've actually taken your pet right before you leave, and we always as visitors did it within usually 5 days of departure. Now keep in mind we lived 4 hours from the border.
And we had a really good relationship with our vet down there. We
And
could
it
call him
was
up.
convenient.
Yeah.
But also, if you ever want a referral of a vet clinic that's somewhere near the Canadian border, just send us an email, drop us a message on Facebook. I'll be glad to help you find a vet. A lot of the northern state veterinarians are used to this.
Right.
They know.
They deal with it regularly.
Especially like on the I-15?
Yeah, I-15 through Montana.
Which is Sweetgrass, like in Shelby, Montana, Great Falls, Billings, Missoula. Those vets are going to be used to that.
Well, even the Spokane vets are going to be used to it. Through Central Washington, not as much, but then once you get over to the I-5 corridor, Bellingham area, I believe most of those vets would be very familiar with the situation.
Let's see. Okay, so current rabies certificate, health certificate. Those are the two biggies for all animals. Now we're talking just dogs. The CDC implemented a new rule that went into effect August 1st of this year. And there is a new form that all dog owners need to complete before they enter the United States. So basically, even if you're going to travel through Canada, so you are importing a dog into the U.S. twice your trip. Maybe 3 times, maybe 4. But whenever you enter Alaska or whenever you enter the lower 48, you need to provide proof, a receipt that you did this CDC dog import form. Now it got really crazy, muddled.
It's a new thing, so people had got really heightened and aware about it, and were scared and didn't know what was happening.
Well, and when the news first came out, there was over the top regulations.
Oh, it was crazy.
And
so strict.
Many people complained. So many veterinarians complained. They really reduced what was necessary when it finally rolled out. And literally 3 days before it rolled out, they changed everything. Because so many people were screaming that this was BS. And I was one of them, trust me.
Well, you're speaking on behalf of our travelers. You know, this is difficult. How many people come up from the lower 48 to Alaska with dogs? Almost everybody.
A lot.
So it's just.
So here are the additional things that you need to make sure your dog complies with this new CDC import form. 1, all dogs, first of all, must be 6 months or older. If they are a puppy under 6 months, they will not be admitted into the United States. Now remember, Canada, they don't care. This is not Canada.
This is the US.
Is the United States.
This is the US.
So all dogs must be 6 months or older. They must have a microchip that is readable by a universal scanner. Now, prior, they said it had to be ISO compliant, but now the verbiage just says readable by a universal scanner. They also had a pro tip that if your microchip starts with any other number than 9, check with your vet to make sure it's readable by a universal scanner. So like I believe Newman, our new dog, he has, before I was saying your microchip number needs to be 15 digits or longer, but this even debunks that. It says just if it starts with anything other than a 9, check with your vet. Well, I think Newman starts with a 6. I can't remember,
Oh,
but it's a shorter one. I think
okay.
it only has 9 numbers. So that means I'm going to have to take Newman in and check, have the vet check to see if she can read it. If she can read it, he's compliant.
Right. So it doesn't matter if it's a 9 character, 15 character, whatever it is, so long as it's
As
scannable.
long as it's readable by a universal
Right.
scanner.
And the whole purpose of a microchip is to be readable by a scanner.
Yes.
So 95% of the microchips out there should be
I
readable by a
I
scanner.
would think so.
I would hope.
Especially, I mean,
Yeah.
I know maybe technology 20 years ago, but how many pets are still alive from 20 years ago?
Not
Very
too, yeah,
few.
very few.
Your dog needs to appear in good health. And then before you cross into the United States, be it Alaska or the lower 48, you need to go on to the CDC's website and complete the new CDC dog import form. It's super easy. All you have to do is basically put in your name, your contact information, your birthday, and then your dog's name, what breed he is or she, and their age. It asks for year and months. So, like for Spirit, she would be 13 years and
7
10
months. 10
months.
months. Oh, no.
No, 7
8,
months.
7 months.
Something like that. The first time I did it, I put like 12 and a half or 13 and a half. And then I realized, oh, it's two different. There's a year thing and a month thing that
right.
should equal the dog's age. So, and then I think you put in their colors, but identifiable information. Previously, they wanted you to take dental photos of your dog's teeth and
What?
yeah, it was
Really?
crazy.
Dental photos?
Yes.
No.
And
No.
when this
no.
all rolled out in August, they're like, okay, we're going to relax this until April 1st of 2025.
25.
So when I was researching all this again for tonight's broadcast, there is no language anywhere about April. So I think that are just rolling forward with this revised, relaxed version
Right.
for good, which is good because in all of our border crossings that we did in the past 3 months,
Yep.
not one
question about dogs.
Not one question
Nope.
about dogs.
Nope.
To all 4 border crossings.
And as some of you have seen in our videos, Sophie likes to ride in that front windshield right there on the driver's side. She was plainly visible on both border crossings, and they didn't even ask about the dog paperwork.
Nope.
You know, the regular rabies certificates.
I had it all there.
Yep.
Here's the other thing. So when you fill out the dog import form, you'll almost immediately, I'd say within 5 minutes, get the receipt back in an email. You can screenshot it. You don't have to have paper.
Yep.
You can just screenshot it on your phone. And that is good for 6 months. And that still states today. It's good for 6 months. So once that should get you through your whole travels to Alaska and back. Just keep it in a folder on your phone that you can easily find. And if they do happen to ask, not like they have so much other things to do, bless our border patrol.
Yeah.
But or customs agents, just know you have it available to show.
Right.
I know some people last year, they did it, but they didn't print it out. And it became a big hassle at one of the border crossings down into Skagway. And all they had to do is get into cell service, get a screenshot, and then they let them through.
Well, and the biggest thing is every time you cross the border, it is up to that border crossing agent to determine what questions he's going to ask and how far he's going to take it. There's a book full of laws that they can go through. If they were to go through every law in the book, every border crossing would take days. So they have to, at that time, when you drive up to their window, they have to decide what they're going to enforce of the laws that are on the books. It seems to me they're not too hot on the CDC dog border crossing thing. Never a question asked about it.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So that's good news for everyone traveling this year. And of course, if things change,
All right, we'll try to let you know.
I will
Or
definitely
not try,
stay
will.
on top of it
Yes.
and let you all know in our Facebook group, which brings me up to our next
Hey,
little
look at
break.
that. Woohoo.
If you haven't joined us on Facebook, we do run one of the largest Facebook groups on the RVing to Alaska topic.
Mhm.
We, as I said or Gary said it at the top of this broadcast, we've been doing these Facebook groups for going on 9 years now. We've rolled everything into one group. We're no longer doing individual year groups. So, RVing to Alaska, the original, that is our current group that we're currently working in. We've got 2 full seasons of
Mhm.
information here from our members sharing everything about their travels to Alaska. This is a gold mine treasure trove of
Yes.
information. That search bar is your friend. And what we do is daily, we have conversations. I share tips and trips,
Tips and tricks.
reviews, just information. And then our members, you, leave questions and everyone else chimes in. It's not just me doling out the information,
Right.
it's everyone. It's a giant
It's
collaboration.
a user involved Facebook group.
It is. And it
Yeah.
is so nice to have. And what it
Mhm.
does, it builds community on the road. Our RVing to Alaska members, RV2AK members are amazing. And one way to share community on the road is our 2025 decal. Every year we do a new sticker. We sell these online at our website, rvingtoalaska.com/store. And you slap this on your towed vehicle or your fifth wheel motorhome. And as you're going up and down the road, you're going to see these stickers traveling around Alaska. And it's pretty cool because I can't tell you how many friendships were started by these decals. They're only $10. And this is how you can financially support the channel and Gary and I and all our endeavors for what we do for you guys here at RVing to
Oh, yeah.
Alaska.
Yep.
So this is the 2025 decal. As you see, they're kind of big because we want you to be able to see them as you're
driving down the road or in a campground or whatever it may be. And now, every one of you, I give you permission to knock on an RV's door that has this sticker presented. Okay. Knock on their door, ask them if they want to go for a hike or a stroll down the beach, have a drink or sit by the campfire or do something.
play games.
Play games, whatever it may be, but go knock on their door and say, hi, I'm part of this RV2AK group as well. Let's do something together.
It's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. There have been some great friendships made with this decal. I know we've got some family members that have been traveling since 2019 with some friends they met through RVing to Alaska.
At our first rally.
Yep.
In 2019.
Yep. So it's been great.
Very cool. All
Yeah.
right. Another topic we're going to dive into is restricted and prohibited items when you're crossing a border. This is pretty self-explanatory, but it's also very muddled every year. The biggest question is what type of food
What can I bring across?
What type of food are they going to be restricting?
Mhm.
Some years, like this past year, it was chicken. That was a big thing. Usually,
Sometimes lettuce is a big thing.
Lettuce is not. It's fruits.
I thought it was. Oh, it's fruits.
Fruits.
Okay.
Specifically, or vegetables with seeds.
That's right.
Basically, each country doesn't want to cross-contaminate. They want to grow their own vegetables, their own fruits, and they don't want any bugs or pests coming across.
And they want you to go shop in their stores and and re-provision in Canada once you get across.
Another item that is restricted but not prohibited is tobacco and liquor. Tobacco, just so you know, if you are a smoker, you're allowed to take across 200 cigarettes, 50 cigars, or 7 ounces of loose tobacco per person. So if there's 2 of you in the rig, you can double that. Liquor's
a little bit more restricted and always a question that is asked.
It is very common. So liquor, your per person allowances is These are ors. They're not
Right. Not
ands.
ands. You don't combine, you don't multiply.
You get to choose
Or
one.
or.
It's 2 bottles of wine per person, 1 standard bottle of liquor per person, or 24 bottles of beer.
Right.
Now, whenever we pull up and this question is asked, Gary is always truthful and says, well, I have a couple of this or a
Yep.
couple of that.
I've got a couple open bottles of bourbon, maybe some gin. I got some vodka. It's all for personal consumption and it's all opened. And what that tells them is that I don't have sealed bottles that I may be using for trade, barter, sell in Canada.
Exactly. Worst case scenario, they're going to say, okay, well, then you need to
gotta
pay a duty.
Mhm.
There's some people that they have their special wine and that's all they drink and they want to bring
They're going to bring in 2 cases of wine across. Well, they may experience a duty that they have to pay.
You may experience a duty.
Mhm.
And then if you don't want to pay that duty, then they're going to confiscate or make you pour it out. We have never been told to pay a duty. We've never had just the
we've always been well over the allocated numbers, but we've always also claimed it and this is what we have. And biggest thing is this is for personal consumption while we travel through your country.
Those are the key words. Also with food, again, if you're following the Facebook group, people will report their crossings and their questions, and we'll get a better sense of what
they're targeting
targeting that day.
Yeah.
It could change daily. One day they may be taking all the tomatoes and the next day all the limes. It's hard to say. Usually we would cross with very little food in the refrigerators, things that we know that would be questionable, and then just go find a grocery store once we're in Canada.
Yep.
Frozen food tends to not ever be confiscated. However, I know this last year, frozen chicken was confiscated. It was a hard no on chicken.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there.
I think there was an avian flu outbreak, and I don't get it. Every year it's something different, and we just figure it out as the travel season.
Once the season starts, we kind of get an idea of what's happening. But the constant prohibited items are always there, and they don't waver very much on these. The first one being marijuana and or CBD. I know a lot of states in the United States allow consumption of marijuana. And CBD oils and such are basically freely used within the United States. Canada has a whole different law. They do have a marijuana use available, but you cannot transport your goods from the United States across the border into Canada. They do not want that at all. No CBD, no marijuana across the border. If you do need to use it, if you do want to partake while in the country, you can visit one of their dispensaries and purchase at that time.
Yeah.
Once you cross the border.
Buy local, use local.
Exactly.
And same thing in Alaska.
Yep.
And I know Washington is a
marijuana state.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
A question from Alana. She asks, you might go over this, but what about pet food into Canada and to the US?
Is it 40 pounds?
The biggest restriction is Canada, and they say 40 pounds per
in all of our crossings,
vehicle?
we've never been asked about pet food.
What we always do is we keep the food in its original bag. Typically we'll put it in like a smell-proof container, just thinking about
being bear
animals.
Aware while we're going through Canada.
But we do keep the bag in that just to be safe. Again, rarely do the border agents get that picky, but then again,
they can.
Last year, one of our friends crossing down into Skagway again. I don't know why Skagway is being. Maybe
they've moved their training facility from Hyder to Skagway.
Well, no, this is the U.S.
This is That's right.
agent.
Oh, okay.
And
Wow.
there's no U.S. customs in Hyder.
Hyder, right?
But Skagway they were very strict last year. I don't know why. Again, and our friend had their bag of food confiscated for his dog,
That's horrible.
which I don't get, but okay. Again, there's links in the video description to this CBSA for traveling with pets, and it'll have all this information for like pet food, for human food, for liquor restrictions. You can find all that information by using our links down below.
Another prohibited item would be firewood. Most of the states in the United States do not like you transporting firewood across the border. Same thing with Canada.
Or even state lines.
Even state lines, yeah. And same thing with Canada. Do not transport firewood from state or from U.S. into Canada. They will confiscate it. And generally, when you leave in the fall or late summer, as you cross back into Yukon, you'll see a big old pile of firewood at the Yukon border because people are trying to transport their firewood. The nice thing is, most Yukon government camps offer free firewood. Just bring a hatchet and an axe.
Yep. Another item that I forgot about, but plants.
Oh yeah, plants.
Say you have potted plants. Sometimes those get scrutinized.
How many did you bring through this time?
One. I brought a rose.
Oh, it was just a rose. That's right.
It was just a rose from my mother's neighbor. I kept it in the bathroom because I knew it was slightly not allowed, and I was ready to give it up if they weren't going to let me take it.
But my mom just died. That's from her.
Yeah. But
you can't play the pity card.
If you are full-timers, I know sometimes it's harder to leave your plants behind. You just know that's something that might be confiscated.
Right.
If it's a plant in dirt, it's the dirt they have a problem with. Mace. So the little tiny cans of personal protection mace are illegal, but it's over there. Yeah. The big can of bear spray is legal, is allowed.
And now it must say for bear deterrent, bear protection, bear spray. It has to say something like that. It can't be anything labeled as personal protection. That is indicative of a weapon. So this is bear spray in that size canister that is free to travel across the borders. It is used to protect humans from bears, not human-to-human defense.
So yeah, this is the correct size, and it says bear deterrent. Anything that is made for human deterrent is illegal.
Correct.
But this is legal. And when they ask, they'll say, "Do you have any pepper spray or mace?" And your answer is no. I have bear spray.
It should be no. If you do have pepper spray or mace, make sure you dispose of it properly prior to crossing the borders. They are different.
Madison says he had a resident USDA agent working at the Skagway border last year. So
that's different. Okay.
That's why they were so heavily covered.
Thank you, Madison. And hey, for you folks, if you haven't met Madison, or most of you probably haven't met Madison, but if you haven't read through Madison's posts already on this group page, he is a wealth of knowledge. He's an amazing moderator. And whatever he posts, just give it a read. He's got some great information for you.
Kenny and Chrissy with Big Family Expedition.
Hey guys,
Hi, guys.
How are you?
They came to our rally last year.
Yep.
Great couple. They have a YouTube channel that they're just now starting to share their Alaska adventure from last summer on.
Yes.
But they said they were even asked about watercraft.
Yeah, we're trying to. They don't want to transport the zebra mussels. So we want to. If your lake is infected with zebra mussels, we don't want to transport those anywhere, Canada, Alaska, or anywhere else across state lines.
Getting pretty common all over the West.
Yep.
And as you enter a new state, you usually have to go through a watercraft inspection. So,
and that does include your inflatable kayaks that you may have. We've crossed the border and. No, we have never crossed the border with those. Yes, we have.
Yes, we have.
A couple of times.
In 19.
In 19
17 and
21 coming up here because we brought them up here from home. So yeah, we've crossed the border with our inflatables and didn't declare.
This trip was the only time we haven't.
Yeah, correct.
Another item that you might not think about. So say you're up here in Alaska and you go to Utiavik or go to a native village
Mm-hmm.
and you buy some product from a native.
A native artisan.
And if you do not have a certificate of authenticity,
Sure.
it could be taken away from you at the border. So when we last crossed into Canada during COVID, we had to turn in our visas, which is something you will never have to do.
Hopefully, no.
But we were in the office for a little bit
Mhm.
waiting to process us out of the country. And there's a whole display case
Huge display case.
of tourist souvenirs that have been confiscated by the Canadian government that is not allowed into Canada. And you may have possibly spent a lot of money, maybe from a native who's selling at a flea market,
or maybe up in Barrow, Alaska, there's some interpretive centers where there are some natives that are creating some whale art or ivory carvings or something like that. And
you need to make sure. And
you get
again,
a certificate.
Canadians, their border authority website has a section on this, and it has to be basically with, I can't remember, the certified or something like that. It has to have the certification that this was authorized. Basically,
Right.
They're trying to stop the sale of animal products of endangered species.
Yep.
So, example, walrus ivory, whale baleen. Those are things that they can get taken away if you don't have that certificate. So make sure if you are buying something from our local natives, make sure that you do have a way to prove that this was a legal transaction and certified. And again, I point you to the CBSA. So do your research if that's something you plan to bring back, because I would hate for you to spend all that money on that product and then it get taken away from you if they end up doing a search of your vehicle. It could happen.
And yeah, most of that stuff is found in a secondary search. People don't just give it up at the crossing. So be prepared for that.
Last, and we'll try to be.
I think there's, well, this could be a whole different topic, a whole different night.
And we always say maybe we'll just do. So we're going to skim over it, and maybe if we have time this year, we'll go deep into it.
Yep.
But it's transporting and shipping firearms. Real quick before I have you leave, if you would like to, please write down this date, July 2nd through the 7th.
Oh, you're skipping ahead a little bit.
Well,
yeah, that's good.
It's a screw up on my script. I'll admit. But save the date, July 2nd through July 7th. We are going to rally in Denali with our 2025 rendezvous at the historic Chalitna River Lodge. We are going to take over this lodge property. They're on a lake. They've got cabins and they have an airfield. And we are going to take over the airfield and party for 5 days and 5 nights on the airstrip.
Right.
And just have a great time. We're going to bring out more information on this rally in the new year. But right now, we just want to make sure you have the dates of July 2nd through the 7th. And this is in Denali State Park.
Under Denali. Rally under Denali.
So, yes. And it's about 100. It's at mile marker 156 of the Parks Highway. So it's about an hour north of Talkeetna and about 2 hours south of the Denali National Park.
Right. And now, so that, this is your opportunity to come experience the largest RV rally in Alaska with us, the hosts of RVing to Alaska. Generally, we have between 100 to 125 people or so, and it's a great time. It's 5 days this time.
Yep. I work with local tour
Yep.
operators where we can send you out on adventures. Of course, that's an additional fee.
Of course.
But I try to work out discounts
Mhm.
for you. In the past, we've done fishing,
Whitewater
charters,
rafting,
whitewater rafting, scenic rafting. So
hikes, in different areas.
I'm excited for next year. I
Mhm.
think it's going to be a lot of fun. This I saw earlier. Kenny and Christy said, "Love your shirt." So this was our shirt from last year.
Oh, yep.
And I'm excited. I'm super excited for 2025.
It's going to be a whole different event for us this year.
It's
Gonna be a
all
lot more
boondocking
fun.
though, so
Yep.
you're gonna have to learn to boondock.
Hey, if you're coming to Alaska, you should know how to boondock anyway.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Okay, final topic of the evening. We're going to talk about transporting firearms. Now, a lot of people, you'll see this is we will moderate this topic hard on the Facebook group.
It gets out of control very quickly.
A lot of people have their own personal opinions and they will voice it very quickly and very loudly.
Personal opinions are a lot different than law.
Yes. So here it is in a nutshell. You can transport some firearms through Canada.
Generally, handguns.
No.
I'm sorry. Generally, long guns is what I meant to say.
Yes.
Generally, long guns. Generally,
So like a shotgun or
a rifle.
a hunting rifle,
Hunting.
but
Hunting.
not souped up.
Yep.
Basically stock. There's a permitting process. So you need to pre-fill out the paperwork prior to arriving at the border. So you have to do your homework. There's also a form that you need to do for the U.S. Customs before you leave the United States so you can get those firearms back into the country. We have put together an extensive guide on our Facebook group.
Very informative.
That you can download and get all the information on this.
Correct.
We also have a video playlist in our YouTube channel here, specifically showing you how we've done it and how both directions, going north and coming back south, and how to do it the right way.
Right.
Now, earlier at the beginning of this broadcast, I said, Gary was saying you just hand over your passport. If you are transporting long guns,
this is one exception.
You will have the pre-filled paperwork that showing that you've done your homework. And here's the key: you don't sign it because you have to sign it in presence of the Canadian authorities. But everything else is already pre-filled out, and you hand that along with your passports to the border agent. Right then and there, you're telling the border agent,
I've done my homework. I have this form.
I know the rules. I've done my homework. Here is my paperwork. I'm carrying firearms. Now, as we said earlier, handguns are no.
Don't even try. Not worth it. Not worth your time. No exceptions.
Well, there are some small exceptions.
They're hard to get through.
But it's not worth the hassle.
Nope.
That is the thing that is not worth the hassle. You're easier to ship them to Alaska, and I'll tell you how to do that too. And our firearms guide explains it all. So if you're in our Facebook group, you just need to go up to the files section and look for the handgun or the transporting firearms guide. It will walk you through everything and tell you everything you need to know if that is something you want to do. Now, Gary is former law enforcement. To us, having a firearm is important,
right?
Even if it's a long gun. This last trip, we did not take any firearms because we thought we were just going down and back.
We were supposed to be there for a couple weeks.
Truly transiting through. And I'm surprised.
I have to thank the cousins for that assistance.
Yep. You did get a few questions coming back into Canada. Did you pack the trailer? Are you sure there's no gun parts?
And I think that comes from our previous crossings when we did have long guns, rifles and shotguns, and shipped our handguns. So they keep track of what you do when you cross these
They
borders.
know
They
more
know.
about you
Oh, yeah.
than you would think
Oh,
when
yeah.
you cross. Also, ammunition is allowed up to 5,000 rounds.
Yep.
And any type of ammunition, which is interesting considering so many types are prohibited, meaning handguns.
Mm-hmm.
But it's super simple if you follow the rules, and if you read our firearm guide, it's kiss. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple, stupid. So I mean, and basically, shotguns and bolt action hunting rifles should not be a problem. When you may encounter a problem with your AR style black rifles, AR-15s and such like that. It's more of an aggressive style rifle, and Canada doesn't like those.
Yeah, even your shotgun, you took some things off.
I took the tube extender off and one of the rail mounts off, just to make it look more stock. So it wasn't as aggressive as it normally is.
Now, if you would like an easy way, if you want to carry firearms, and like I said, we're advocates of it. There's no reason why you shouldn't have a firearm with you, especially when you're in Alaska. It sometimes this is not enough.
No, it's not. Sometimes that
bells are
won't
good
work.
though. Bells help.
Dinner time.
But yeah, it just tells the bear that dinner's ready with pepper. But
lead helps more.
Shipping is super easy, and I only recommend one shipping service here in Alaska. They're in Tok, and if you're driving to Alaska, that is your first city on either routes in from Top of the World or the Alaska Highway. You're going to end up in Tok, and that is Wolf Hawk Shipping, gun shipping. Their website is alaskagunshipping.com. And he's got tons of information too. I would say he is the local expert on this topic.
If somebody says to you, just ship it to yourself, just through mail, UPS, FedEx, that is not the way to do it.
That is illegal.
Yes.
You do ship to yourself, but you ship through an FFL. Right. So you're going to have to find an FFL from your home state or somewhere
near the border crossing.
The border, like a lot of people use an FFL in Great Falls, and then especially if you use an FFL that's near the Canadian border, they're going to be aware of this process because they'll probably do it every day, and you will ship that package to yourself in care of the FFL, and then you use the address information that's provided in our firearms guide or on Wolfhawk gun shipping's website. So he's made it very easy. We've made it very easy. You just got to watch the video, read the guide, read his website, and you will have most likely zero problems. Another thing is if you do decide to transport your firearms through Canada, one question they most likely will ask you is, are you going to any national parks? And if you say yes, such as Jasper or Banff, they are going to stop you right there and deny you entry. Or they may deny you entry, or they'll say, okay, you have 5 days to get through Canada. So there is a debate about what is legal in the national parks, what is not. If you ask a ranger, you can have it in your vehicle. It just needs to be locked up and stored, which it should be anyways if you're transporting it through Canada. But some border agents read that line as you cannot even drive through Jasper or the Icefields Parkway because you have a gun in your vehicle.
Again, it comes to every different border agent is different.
Everyone interprets
the
law differently. And we've had people denied entry into Canada because they answered not the way the border agent wanted. So then they had to go back into the US, go find an FFL, and either store it or ship it either home or
Yep.
up to Alaska.
Yep.
And no, there's certain rules. If you, like Gary said, don't just ship it to your RV park in Tok, because that's against the law. It has to go through an FFL. So I can't say enough. Do your homework.
Yep.
We've done the homework for you and provided all that information, but it's upon you to read it and act upon it.
That makes a lot of sense. Yes. If you don't, if you ship it to yourself, you could possibly lose your weapon and face fines, not just local fines, but federal fines. And it's just not a good thing to do.
John,
a lot of people still do it, but just, yeah.
I just want to say thank you for that super thanks. Holy cow.
What's this? Oh my gosh, John Feeney.
Wow. He tipped us for this advice. So I
thank
appreciate
you so
that,
much.
John's asking, do you have any recommendations for an FFL in the valley? As in the Matsu
Valley here. What I'll do is if it's local Matsu Valley, I will go. There's a couple of gun shops and I'll do my due diligence and talk with them coming up very soon. And we can provide that information to you shortly.
John, also, if you can email us at support@rvingtoalaska.com with that same question, so Gary can get back to you.
But what I'd like to say though is, if you are RVing to Alaska, generally your first town in Alaska will be Tok, and that might be your best option to ship to. And Wolf Hawk Shipping would be that connection in Tok. If you're flying into Alaska, you can bring your firearms in a checked baggage that way.
He's here RVing to Alaska.
Yeah.
I don't think he's flying. He said he'll email us.
Thank you very much, John.
That's a great question. But if you're on your exit or on your inbound, Tok does make the best decision, because then you have it with you at almost all times while in Alaska.
Yep.
So that's it.
That's an abbreviated version.
It is. And
there's a lot more to it.
I always hate to be so abbreviated, but it can't be any more simpler than the information we've put together for you on the Facebook group. And I think it's on our website. I'll also check our website. I'm going to be revamping this winter with the website and adding new pages and information. So if it's not already there, I'll make sure I get it up there. But just so you know, next live is Monday, November 18th. Same place, same time, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And the topics that we'll be covering next time is just general RVing in Canada as well as Alaska. So we're going to talk about maybe fishing seasons, where you want to be, what months. We can talk about different type of campgrounds, what kind of discounts you can get at those campgrounds, such as if you're wounded veteran, things like that.
Sure.
So just general RVing in Canada as well as Alaska. Now, coming up in the future, in the new year, because remember, we're not going to be here.
We're taking December off.
In December.
Yep.
Oh, wait a minute. I had already told myself, well, I guess that's fine.
What?
I was going to change that up and not do general RVing. But nope, we'll just stick with it. So in January.
It's written down. It must be the way it is.
We're leaving the country. Let's see. Our next live is on the 18th, and we're leaving the country on the 24th.
Right.
But other topics coming up in the new year are going to be our favorite RV gizmos and gadgets for Alaska.
That's a fun one.
And then we'll do city highlights, regional highlights, what to do when you're in certain areas.
Sure.
And if you have a topic that you would like us to address, please drop them down below in comments or send us an email. Give us those suggestions.
Right.
I don't want to just keep repeating the same thing year after year after year for every one of our podcasts, even though the information does change slightly.
A little bit each year.
It'd be fun to have some new content.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so please email us at the email that Stacey had said, support at rvingtoalaska.com.
support at rvingtoalaska.com.
There you go. If you
Yep.
have any questions, go ahead and email us to that email address. We'd be happy to answer it or include it in a podcast. Also, I'd like to give you all a big cheers. Thank you for sticking out with us tonight.
We're doing Q&A real quick.
I know I'm getting ahead of the game.
Yeah, I see Kenny. It's either Kenny or Chrissy or
One of
maybe
them.
both. They're wearing the same shirt today.
Are they really?
We're twinsies.
You guys are awesome. Thank you
Very
so
cool.
much.
So we did answer the question, where does the vet go online to fill out the
Yep.
health certificate? So that information's provided. The vet will do it. If they need help, give them the Alaska State Veterinary Office's email. That's what I've put down below. Neva says that they didn't ask anything about their dogs either.
Right.
No,
They
all 4 crossings we had
no dog
this
questions.
fall, not
0.
one. We talked about pet food, 40 pounds. We talked about there was a USDA agent in Skagway.
Thank you, Madison.
Conversation about bear spray, we answered. So living a paw life. Oh shoot. Okay, tell them about our inflatable kayaks if asked.
Yeah, if asked. And
most likely it may be, you may see as you're going down a road, you'll see a sign saying
Boat check
watercraft inspection coming up. And that's where you'll want to pull in. And
now, if you want to pull in with your inflatable kayak that's been rolled up for 6 months inside the bay of your motorhome, maybe just fly by that one.
See, that's the difference between him and me. I like to follow the rules. He likes to fudge them.
It's just they don't see it. It's not external. Like the inflatable kayaks, they're just.
Yeah, they still could carry something though.
Hey, clean your kayak before you put it in a different body of water.
Right.
Let's just say that.
Hi, Robert. Robert attended one of our rallies.
Yeah, he
and
did.
He said the rally is a lot of fun.
We have a good time there, guys. And this one is going to be.
Do.
This one's going to be a lot more fun.
Everyone's just saying good night.
Good.
Oh, there's Mr. Jeff. Chrissy who's my twin tonight.
Oh, Chrissy. Okay. Hi, Chrissy.
Yep. Question.
Yes.
Jeff
asks, Wine?
Can you pull off anywhere and camp in your RV? He wrote TV. RV for the night.
I won't fit in my TV very well, Jeff.
Most places, yes. You will see people boondocking on the side of the road quite a bit up here. One suggestion I suggest is using iOverlander. It's an app that you can download to your phone, and it's great at providing those gem of stops where you can just pull over and know that you're not breaking any local ordinances.
And I think next week we'll probably dive deeper into that topic, boondocking throughout the area for general
RVing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very common. There also are some areas that you think you might be able to easily do it, and you can't. It's not allowed. There's signage,
native property or something like that,
or the national park. They want you in their campgrounds, not on their pullout. So it just depends on the area. Great question, Jeff. Thank you. All right. Well, I don't see any other topics tonight being addressed. So we just want to thank you for being here for another Monday Night Live. I apologize for the very beginning where we didn't know the.
We're still polishing the rust off of us.
A little bit. Well, I noticed last week before we started, I always let it sit for about 30 seconds to allow people to come on. And last week, I didn't realize we weren't muted, so you could hear us talking.
Oh yeah.
While we were waiting that 30 seconds.
Well, and I can mute over here on the board. So what we need to do is last week we didn't have that. So next week
you'll be in control.
Yes, I'll mute the mics before and it was boom, take it off.
He's the audio guy. Yeah. That's not my department. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again for watching with us. We really do appreciate it. And we will see you again in 2 weeks. November 18th, right here at RVing to Alaska.
Take care, guys. Have a great night. Enjoy.